All right, it's 8 o'clock, and thanks for the few who are starting to join. Mr. DeGuy, awesome. I'm gonna just kind of give it like one or two, well, actually just like 1 minute to see people if they want to join. I hate that process where we have to kind of wait. I always feel like it's awkward in the beginning, but it's all right. We're gonna do some really good information tonight. Okay. Okay, well, I'm just gonna get started because I hate to make people wait, especially when I recorded this. And I hate the whole, I think we all know, just get to the point. Okay, well, welcome to the second Instagram Live that I'm doing. I'm doing these every 2 weeks on all sorts of health topics. And my passion in health and wellness is to educate on everything imaginable to help you live your best life. And often these strategies are very simple. Doesn't take a lot of work. You would think they do. It's just more awareness. And so tonight's class is on successful strategies for amazing health and amazing sleep. And if you joined me 2 weeks ago, my first class was on successful management of stress. And if you didn't make it that time, you can watch the pre-recorded. It's really good information. And when I'm doing these courses, I'm kind of doing them in order of importance. And stress management is number 1. And then, as you can imagine, what would number 2 be? Sleep, right? So good sleep is right up there with stress management. And so we're going to talk about all sorts of ways to help you get really good sleep, why you want to get good sleep, and just the implications of health and why it's like way up there on like the top priorities of sleep, okay? So you'll just have to bear with me because I make these slides and I just have to keep changing them out. It's not like a PowerPoint where I can, oh goodness. Okay, here we go. Hi guys, thanks for joining. And I'm trying to see if I can get, oh, there we go. You'd think I'd get it figured out. So, big question, and I'm just loving to see everybody. Hi Tim, hi Marla, hi Laura, and Donaldson. Okay, I don't know the first name. Levon Donaldson? Okay, well, hello. Thanks for joining me. All right, so this is interactive, and I want you guys to feel free to comment anytime throughout my presentation. Hi, Sarah. And I want you guys to tell me, how do you wake up in the morning? Do you feel like you're waking up refreshed and ready to go? Or does it take you a while and you hit that snooze button? Or you're just like, you roll over and you see the time, maybe there's a clock on your wall, and you're like, oh, 5 more minutes. Okay, and then you look 5 more minutes. Oh, maybe 10 more minutes. So go ahead and tell me if you wake up feeling ready to go or if you're tired. I do know with winter, I will admit, it's definitely a lot more complicated to wake up because it's cold and it's dark. And I will be the first to admit, in the summer, that's where I wake up ready to go, probably because it's already light earlier on. And we're going to talk about what that means. Yes, so yeah, Marla, snooze is hit at least 3 times. Snooze button, yep. Do you guys find that you do the snooze button in the summer very often? Okay, so Levon, yep, winter is harder because it is dark. Is anyone else with me on that? It's easier to wake up in the summer because I'm going to tell you why that is. All right. Well, I'll just assume sometimes the comments come in slower than when I talk. So the next slide, I have to teach you guys on this thing called cortisol awakening response. And if you were from my first, 2 weeks ago from my stress response and stress management course, we talked a lot about cortisol management. And it's one of those things that if you don't understand cortisol and the importance of it, you're going to go along throughout your day having your cortisol levels just kind of doing waffling situations for you, and you're going to have weird energy all throughout the day. And so, again, if you want to rewatch the cortisol and stress management, it's really powerful to understand kind of how that plays out with your body. But I'm just doing a 101 on the stress, the cortisol awakening response. Yes, summer's easier. Okay, yep, everybody's agreeing. Okay. Now, the reason that happens, if you know anything about little organs in our brain, there's this thing called the pineal gland, and it creates melatonin. But there's also, it's when there's light at your face and your eyes, melatonin stops being made because that's what makes you sleep, and cortisol starts to rev up. And that's usually when you there's a light starting to come through your day, and you'll notice sometimes you'll just wake up with the light, and especially more in the summer because, right, there's more daylight time. And so that light actually stimulates the pineal gland to make cortisol to make us wake up. And then the opposite is true, that when you're ready to go to bed, your body wants it complete dark so that it'll start to make melatonin from the pineal gland, and then you get a really nice deep sleep. And I'm sure some of you have noticed that with trying to fall asleep. If you have too much light going on, you just somehow it's like, oh, I just can't fall asleep. Or if somebody shines the lights when you're waking or when you're in the middle of the sleep, or there's like a light post from out in your street shining directly in your eyeball, yeah, it affects your sleep. Okay, so this little chart, it says daily free cortisol with cortisol awakening response. Now, this looks a little all scientific and kind of like fun, or, you know, like if you're like me, I'm like, ooh, this is cool, let's look at this. So there's this chart with, you can see kind of the, I guess you could say cream, yellowish, it's called the normal cortisol range. And there's a high and there's a low. And then you can see there's like a blue line, a green line, and then like a kind of a gray dotted line. Well, ideally, when you have a normal cortisol awakening response, aka you're also getting really good sleep, your black dotted line is your ideal. And you want your cortisol to wake up really sharp when you're waking up within like the first 30 minutes. And some of you are actually, that's happening. And then you'll notice like you get out of bed and you start moving around and you're like, okay, actually now I'm starting to wake up. And that's cortisol rising up for you. Okay, and then as your day goes on, you'll see that kind of that dotted line will go down, 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 and then till you have to go to bed. And that's normal, okay? Now, sometimes you can have these labs ran to see what your actual cortisol response is, and it's usually a urine test, and you test yourself 4 to 5 times throughout the day. You're urinating on a strip, and then you send it off to a lab, and then it'll tell you what is your cortisol and how is your body making cortisol. Is it too much? Is it too low? And it's really good to see because it helps you to understand, okay, I actually do have some underlying health issues. Maybe I didn't realize it was due to the cortisol and the stress. I thought it was other things. And so if you joined me in my first talk, some of you did, and you might have remembered my story that I had this test ran on myself. And I realized I had really high cortisol. And so my level would have been that blue line. It went up really high, and then it was actually outside of the range as the night went on. And I would be like that second wind gal where I could be like a night owl, and I would like stay up, and I would have a ton of energy and just getting stuff done. And then it'd be like 2, 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh, okay, I better get to bed. And that's not good, right? But for me, my body was under a lot of stress for various reasons, pandemic. And if you know the story, I actually found out I was not getting good sleep. And it's a little embarrassing, but some of you, I've already told this story too. I have a dog named Cash, And Mr. Cashy Cash is a burrowing dog, and so he kind of likes to go under my blanket and kind of twirl around and then get warm, and I'm his person, so he nestles right up to me. And then because he's hot or cold, he likes to get like really, really hot because he doesn't have any fur. And so then he'll get warm to me, and then he'll pull out of the sheets and then go on top of the bed and then like cool down and then go back under the sheets and then get warm. And he was doing this back and forth probably 7-8 times in the night. And you guys, it went on for 7 years. I didn't realize it because I got so used to it. Well, it was almost as if I was being woken by a baby 7 to 8 times a night. And it wasn't until I had this test ran that it was an epiphany of like, oh my goodness, Faith, you're not getting good sleep, and you haven't been getting good sleep for 7 years. You just got used to it. So needless to say, Mr. Cashy Cash is now sleeping in a chair away from me, and I put a blanket on him, so he's all good. He's getting better sleep, and then I'm getting better sleep. And hands down, I will tell you, I'm feeling much better. And so some of the symptoms, because if you want to know if you're having cortisol issues or lack of sleep, here are some of the symptoms. And I was having some of these, okay? And, I'll be the first to admit I'm not perfect. And, I'm taking supplements and eating well. But darn it, I wasn't getting good sleep. And so I was like negating everything, okay? So yeah, I was having a hard time with my memory. There'd be times where I was just kind of like negative. Luckily, I was not getting sick very often. And I attribute that to sugar management. And that's going to be actually our next topic in 2 weeks. Once I quit sugar, I practically stopped getting sick. Or if I do get sick, it's like one day. Okay. For sure, I was irritable, short-tempered. You can ask the husband, you can ask the kids, and I wasn't getting good sleep, right? I just my cortisol was it was too much. And so my body was like, what's going on? And okay, you forgot that, and I would yell at them, right? So that's actually been a lot better. Praise the Lord. Loss of sex drive, yeah, that does get affected with loss of sleep. And I definitely, this was probably the biggest thing that I noticed. My life was just fine. I'm there's nothing to stress me out, but I was starting to feel just generally unhappy, not depressed yet, but it could have kept going. And so I was just definitely oh man, I'm not myself. Things aren't exciting as much as they used to be. Okay. If you happen to start craving sweets in the afternoon, that's a sign that your cortisol is off. Definitely the anxious, racing thoughts, really common with lack of sleep. You'll find yourself eating more or less, and we'll talk about that. This was the other thing that I noticed. My head would be just real foggy, and my eyes would be kind of glassy. And it was just I couldn't focus. And so that has definitely been improving. I'm so thankful. Silly things, but yeah, you don't realize your dysfunction sometimes of what you're dealing with on a daily basis until it's just you dive deeper, right? And then aches and pains. Now, luckily I didn't have too many aches and pains. Being a chiropractor and taking supplements, I'm very diligent about making sure that I don't have pain. And then, like I said, when I quit sugar, I stopped getting sick, and a lot of my body pain went away because sugar is, in my opinion, and research shows, sugar is it acts like rust on your joints. Okay. And then the other thing is you can often have a hard time either falling asleep or you wake up in the night. And I didn't have any problem falling asleep, but yeah, I was waking up a lot because, the dog was waking me up. And the other thing is he would get really dehydrated, and then he would want all sorts of water, and then he would have to go pee in the night. So you guys, it was a hot mess. So it's a funny story. It's a little bit embarrassing to share, but I'm glad we figured it out. And it's silly, but it was just because I was running these cortisol tests on myself, and lo and behold, my body said, yes, Faith, yeah, you've been not getting sleep for a while. Okay, so questions for you guys. Why do you think sleep matters? Maybe throw some things out there. Why does sleep matter? There's a lot of reasons. And I'll wait for your responses to come in. But we're going to get into that. And so sleep, in my opinion, is a non-negotiable. If you've ever heard that word before, meaning that, yeah, you do it. It's yes or no, and it's yes, you get good sleep. So it's a non-negotiable. And so here we go. Oh, you guys are so good. Brain function, it makes or breaks your day. Your body needs that time to heal. You guys could teach this class. Healing, brain health, memory processing. Okay, I'm really proud of you guys. Hey. So yeah, you are correct on all of that. And so we're going to go over the top, just real general, why sleep does matter. And if you are trying to save money, and I'm sorry my face is kind of like right over, and I'll tell you what that says. But if you are trying to save money, and we're always going to be budget conscious, and we have to be, right? But sleep is free medicine. It's free. Isn't that great? And it's one of the best things you can do. And then the other thing that's free was stress management, managing your stress, and, prayer and meditation and journaling and talking with friends. It's crazy. Some of these things to heal yourself are free, okay? And often it's the decision, the choice that you have to make makes it free, okay? So yes, okay. And then Tim, you said happiness. Awesome. Well, here are the top 5 why sleep is a non-negotiable. And sometimes, I'll be honest, going through life, you have kids, you have job, you have work deadlines, you maybe stayed up late watching a Netflix show and you're binge watching because it's so good. We've all done that. Maybe there's some traveling where you were at a party or an event. So yeah, there's just life situations where you're just gonna get to bed late and then have to wake up super early. And those are the here and there situations, but the goal is for sleep management to be a consistent thing. And so I'm going to talk about it in just a second. The reason being now we want the good sleep, we're going to repair our bodies, right? Rest and repair are vital. One of the coolest things that happen when we sleep, and if we're sleeping for a good 7 to 8 hours, our bodies, we can't mess anything up. Think about it. You're not eating anything. You're not stressing out. You're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off. You get to your body legit gets to just rest, and you can't mess it up. So your body needs that time to literally make new cells, repair all sorts of hormone situations. And there's this thing called growth hormone. And if you've ever noticed, maybe you've gone to bed with like a pimple or like a cut or a sore, and it was like maybe red and kind of just like swollen. And then you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, it's actually gone, or it's like a little bit there and no more redness. Well, that's growth hormone that was activated because you're actually, when you fast, you're not eating in the night and your body goes into a fasting state, that activates growth hormone, which, another side note for those who do intermittent fasting, growth hormone continues to be activated. And so for those who end up doing like intermittent fasting for like 16 hours and then 8 hours they eat, or they fast for 20 hours and then they eat for 4 hours, or some people go 2 days eating nothing, so it's like a 48-hour fast. And growth hormone in studies has been shown to be boosted like 2,000%. So the point of intermittent fasting or fasting is for body repair, okay? So that's a really cool side note. Okay, and then brain and mental health. Have you ever had that situation where like maybe You're tired, you're going throughout the day, and something bad happens, or you have to make a decision, and you're hemming and hawing about it, and you're like, you know what, just let me sleep on that. I think we've all had that, right? And you get the sleep, your body and your brain has had time to process, and then you wake up and you're like, okay, I don't need to do that. It was an emotional decision. Or B, actually, that's a wise choice. And so you always want to sleep on it, right? Because you're going to make a good decision because your brain has kind of been rebooted and had time to process, okay? And then weight management, we're going to get into some stats about this, but it all makes sense, right? If you're not going to get good sleep and then the next day you're tired, you're going to make horrible decisions. You're not going to want to go work out. You're going to just get out of your routine. We all know we feel pretty crummy when we don't get good sleep. And then when you are getting good sleep, you guys, you're reducing your risk for all sorts of diseases. And that's like a no-brainer, right? Diabetes, heart disease, cancer, inflammation, all these things that we deal with, they're called new millennial diseases that were all, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, right? Sleep is free medicine. And you can prevent a lot of these things by letting your body repair, like I mentioned in the prior little points there. And then you can't see it because it's a couple little things over it, but it does improve your immune system. And I remember in chiropractic college, there'd be times where I had to just do, cram sessions because I had these huge final exams and, the content was not easy and you're already just, to your max of pushing the limit. And I remember I would just push, and I would not get the sleep, right? You get 3-4 hours of sleep because it's like survival, which didn't help taking an exam, by the way. But then you would be done with all that pushing, and then hands down, what happens when you stop pushing and you get and you're not getting sleep? I think we all know. Your body hits hard and crashes, and then that's when you get sick, okay? So yeah, good sleep is really important for your immune system, and I think you guys knew that one already. So I'm going to talk a couple stats here. I gotta find it here. Okay. I thought this was a really cool statistic for lack of sleep and brain function. And I feel bad for medical doctors and people who are in the, the nurses and those who are in the healthcare industry where they have to they're working, I don't even know, 24-hour shifts, and, they're just going in and sleeping on a cot for maybe an hour or two. But you can see that if they keep that going, and they said that a specific study on overworked physicians found that doctors with moderate, high, and very high sleep-related impairment were 54, 96, and 97% more likely to report clinically significant medical errors. That's not good. And I think we all know that can happen. So I feel bad for the medical profession, but yeah, that's just kind of, for them, they don't get sleep. And I feel really bad because think about if they could get sleep, how much better the treatments we would get even at the hospitals and situations. So, all right, next slide. And this was one of my posts that I made on my Instagram, and it talked about if you don't get sleep, you legit will crave 500 more calories. That's a lot. Do you guys know how much it takes to gain 1 pound of fat? If you've learned anything about calories, or if you want to burn a pound of fat, does anybody know that crazy statistics of how many calories you have to burn 1 pound of fat? We'll see. Okay, well, maybe it'll come, and it's always slow response. So 3,500 calories makes a pound of fat, okay? Or if you are wanting to burn a pound of fat, you have to burn 3,500 calories over a period of time. Oh, Lavana, no, she knew. Good job. Okay, I'm so proud of you guys. Okay. All right, so if you've heard about like calorie management and whatnot, and it's not a perfect science, but yes, if you want to lose weight, you either, create a deficit of 500 calories with food each day, and then over 7 days, you could technically lose a pound a week. Or you can exercise and burn 500 calories, 7 days a week and burn a pound, okay? But let's just say you're not getting sleep. So what are you gonna do? Unfortunately, you're gonna be in the category of gaining weight. And that body says, I need energy because I'm tired and I will find it fast. And it's gonna typically be sugar. And I feel like we've all been in that boat, right? Sugar and coffee and the stuff that's not good for us. Because at that point, we're not making good decisions around, like, we don't care. I just give it to me. I'll deal with it later, right? I think we've all been there. So here's another statistic. So a 2020 analysis found that adults who slept fewer than 7 hours per night, fewer than 7, most people are trying to only, they get like 6. And they had a whopping 41% increased risk of developing obesity. That's pretty significant. And then meanwhile, sleeping longer didn't actually make you have a risk of obesity. So the point is, get 7 to 8 hours. Don't get less than 7. That's a pretty big deal. 41%. Like, that one's mind-blowing, okay? All right, I hope you guys are doing good. You're doing awesome. Thanks for your great participation. This is great class. Proud of my students here. Okay, so lack of sleep, you get more sick. So here's another statistic. Participants who slept fewer than 5 hours per night were 4.5 times. That's pretty big. More likely to develop a cold compared to those who slept more than 7. And those who slept 5 to 6 hours were 4.24 times more likely. So it's interesting to see just that 7-hour cutoff, how it's, 7 to 8 hours is true. You want to hit that mark. If you're hitting 6 hours of sleep, you guys, that's where your health is saying, no, I'm going to get sick, I'm going to gain weight, I'm not going to have good mental capacity. So if you're hearing me, it's a goal of, let's hit 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night and make it a routine, right? And then here's a disease statistic. 36 studies were analyzed. Over 1 million participants found that very short sleep of fewer than 5 hours, there we go again, and short sleep of fewer than 6 hours increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes by 48% and then 18% respectively. So there we go again. You're seeing these statistics, right? They're like not just little bits. It's like a whopping increasing your chances of not good health, okay? So you guys, I think you're getting the point. It's a non-negotiable. So let's talk sleep strategies, okay? And my last class, I always have these like internal and an external tips that you can do. And just to kind of let you know the difference when I'm saying internal versus external, well, internal would be like things you can consume, and external would be things that you can do, right, in your outside environment. So let's talk about external steps, because there's a lot of things here, but I'm going to introduce a lot of things that you've never heard of because, well, this is just my profession, and I'm always learning all the things about what makes people sick, okay? Now, if you're wanting to get successful sleep strategy, the number one thing that you start off with is get your regular bedtime and your regular wake time. And this includes on the weekends. I hate to say it. I know everybody wants to sleep in on the weekends. Maybe you can like vary it, maybe 30 minutes to like an hour, maybe get away with it. But your body is so cyclical that you do this whole up and down, throwing it off. It's not going to have that balance. It's not going to know what's coming, and you're going to put your body in a constant fight or flight stress situation, and it won't be able to it won't catch up, okay? So go to bed, same time, and wake up at the same time. And if you try that for just a week to 2 weeks, you will notice a huge difference in your energy, okay? That's free. The next thing, which we all are so guilty on this, and again, I'm sorry my picture's covering it. Blue light. I think you guys have been hearing about this. Like right now, we're all on blue light. It's just the way of the world. We can't get away from it, but we can reduce it. And so you really want to try not to be doing the scrolling on, like TikTok and Instagram and, all the things that we do, because most of us go to bed with our phone and we have this light at us. And yeah, it's going to affect our cortisol response, right? And it's going to affect melatonin being produced. So they suggest 1 to 2 hours before bed to not be on screens. And I know that's a hard one. So you're going to have to probably, figure that one out. Or some people buy these blue light blocking glasses. And you can get them in prescription or you can just get them general. That is one way to reduce this, like these wavelengths that kind of come at your eyeballs and keep you awake. So yeah, that one's a tough one. Okay, and then this is another important one. If you have a routine before bed, your body is basically signaling to you, all right, I'm going to start getting to bed. I'm going to start winding down, and I'm just going to set myself up for a good deep sleep. Me personally, my routine, not every night, but just about every other night, I do Epsom salt baths. And I will do 2 cups because I really love making sure magnesium is absorbed into my system. It makes it so that my body can make, it's called GABA. And GABA is a natural calming neurotransmitter. And so Epsom salt baths are amazing for sleep. And then on top of that, my body has gotten warm. And then when I go to bed, it's at a cooler temperature. And your body likes colder temperatures to sleep, okay? Sometimes I'll drink tea. So like right now, I'm drinking tea, okay? Because I'm going to be going to bed pretty soon after I'm done with you guys. And I like holy basil tea. It's not caffeinated, and it's really good for your adrenal glands. Some people like to read a book, some people journal, some people pray. There's all sorts of fun routines, right? So I highly suggest just, hey, I'm just going to get a routine, and it's not going to be going on and scrolling my Instagram, okay? I'm sorry. And then we do set our temperature lower, right? In winter, it's going to be chilly, but if you have your temperature in your room at like 68 and above, you're actually going to get too warm, and your body doesn't like that because it's having to like negate the heat, and then it's going to get dehydrated, and then you might wake up really parched. And sometimes if you're dehydrated, you might end up having like leg cramps and like maybe a restless leg. That's really common for people these days because they're dehydrated or they don't have enough electrolytes, okay? So try experimenting, bumping down your thermostat, program it, and you might notice, yeah, I actually sleep really good. I did talk about room completely dark at night. And then I think what's more important, if you are in a room that has windows, like somehow natural light coming in to help you wake up is amazing. If you don't have that, or let's just say you're waking up super early, you can purchase these things that are called light boxes, that then you put your alarm on and then you can click on this light, or you can put the light on while you're trying to get ready for the day. But basically it's like a full spectrum light coming at you, and it helps you to wake up as if you were in the sunlight, okay? And a lot of people report that it's really beneficial for them, especially during winter, okay? Earplugs, we're gonna talk about snoring. And I literally just talked about this with a patient of mine. I don't know, is she on here? Is she still on here? Maybe she's not here. We were talking about earplugs because sometimes our significant other snores, and that's not fun, right? So we talked about that there's those foam earplugs, and for me, my husband used to snore really, really bad. He ended up having a surgery procedure to remove some tonsils because we found out that his immune system was compromised from childhood. He had severe sleep apnea, and he was snoring like a train. I equated it to like 10 out of 10. Like, it was so loud. And he had that surgery because his tonsils were literally touching each other, and it wasn't good for him. He wasn't getting oxygen, and wasn't good for me. I wasn't getting sleep. And he did have those removed, and I could have kissed the surgeon, and that, you know, because then the snoring went to like a 3 out of 10, okay? But still, I learned about earplugs, and personally, they're called silicone earplugs, and they kind of squish into the ear, and they're soft, and they don't rub your ear raw, and they last a very long time. And so that's one of my tips for earplugs if you find you really like to have no noise. Some other people like to have white noise, and you can buy machines for that. But I do want to caution a little bit later, I have to talk about, oh yeah, it's coming up, Wi-Fi EMFs, okay? Okay, how are we doing? I have so much information, but, oh, and I wanted to, oh, earplugs, you can't hear the alarm. Very true. Yeah, I know, it's such a, kind of like a Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You have to figure out what's gonna work for you. For me, luckily, I've trained myself that when I'm going to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time, I just somehow naturally wake up at the same time every day. And it's been crazy weird and awesome. So maybe that'll happen for some of you as you're going to bed sooner or later, you know what I'm trying to say. Okay, so then proper mattress and pillows. Being a chiropractor, I cannot tell you how many times a patient will come in and they're having back pain, neck pain, and it's because of their mattress or their pillow. And we have to kind of navigate or look into getting a proper bed. Yes, they're not cheap, but if you can find sorry, my light just went off here. If you can find that good bed and a good proper pillow, you will get really good sleep, and then you're going to stop having the aches and pains. You're going to stop having, you know, joints hurt. You're going to stop waking up stiff and sore. So that definitely is something to navigate if you know your mattress and your pillow are not the best. That's another game changer, okay? And then with that being said, body work is huge. I don't know how many of you can relate, but if you've been to a chiropractor or a massage and you've had body work and you go home, and then I always say take an Epsom salt bath before you go to bed. But if you go to bed after you've had body work, like, I sleep so incredibly good, and I'm just like, wow, I really got to make sure I do that more often. So I usually tell people, if you're not in pain and you're just in a wellness mode, massages once a month, chiropractic once a month, or some kind of body work that once a month at least you're getting some kind of tissue cement released, okay? And then, okay, I want to talk about Wi-Fi and EMFs. I have a little slide later on. How many of you have ever heard of electromagnetic field stress? And you can kind of do a little wave your hand or yeah. This is one of those things that has been around forever, but it's not a topic that's talked about a lot, but it is becoming more and more popular. But it is it's radiation that's coming from our electronic devices. Okay, yeah, some people have heard about them. Okay, so some people go as far as, and you can try it, it doesn't harm anything, shutting off your Wi-Fi router at night because of the wavelengths that get emitted, and especially if that's just say they're in your room or in a room close by, or heck by your head, that's even worse. The wavelength your body absorbs it, and it can kind of like make your body feel like buzzed or just like irritated, like, okay, I can't calm down. And that's because your body's absorbing this extra energy from the Wi-Fi router, your cell phone, and then we're finding the worst one is the earbuds. And I know a lot of people love their earbuds. So I've switched to using just the ones that you plug into your phone. I know it's not as cool, but I don't need any extra radiation at my brain at all hours, because I know a lot of people will go to bed with the earbuds in and they fall asleep to it. And I know I'm ruining some people's day right now because I'm telling them that their earbuds are not good for them, okay? So you definitely, good news, you can get the wire ones for maybe at bed, and then maybe in moderation, in short spurts if you really like your Bluetooth earbuds. I would just say moderation use on those, but not as much as people are using them. Kind of scary, okay? And then even your alarm clock. So some people get super gung-ho and they'll buy these EMF radiation detectors, and they'll go around their house and they'll see what is the extra radiation being given off of all their electrical appliances. And then they can be like, oh my goodness, there is a some kind of, box. What is that box? It's the electrical panel right by my head that I'm sleeping at night. It does get to be like that obvious that, whoa, maybe I need to change my bed, or maybe I need to rearrange some furniture. But that's a whole nother topic, and I want to move on, okay? Restrictive clothing. If you've ever noticed, maybe you've gone to bed and you wore like maybe elastic waistbands, or maybe ladies, you've gone to bed and you just were too tired to take off your bra, or you wore a sports bra, and the weirdest thing, you wake up feeling like really stiff and sore. Well, your body needs all that freedom for lymphatic drainage and circulation to occur, and you won't get good sleep because your body will feel restricted in the night, okay? So there is some truth to sleeping in the buff. It is actually healthy. It is good for your health, and I'm gonna just let you guys, figure that one out. But I would say try it. You might find out you'll sleep really well. Okay, so now we're going to talk internal success strategies. And this is the things that you will be able to take internally. And we're doing good. We're almost to our last slides here. Alcohol. I do know that that's kind of I think most people know you don't want to be consuming too much alcohol. It will mess up with your sleep. Yes, some people will make you pass out, but long-term use of that, you're going to wake up feeling horrible, like the hungover situation, dehydration, and then the blood sugar, right? So just avoiding alcohol, in moderation, definitely encourage. But, the whole nightcap situation, just to be able to put you to sleep, I would suggest maybe looking into other situations that would help calm your system. And so, no, something that's not so addictive, okay? This is one of my favorite methods, staying hydrated. Now, I know people are like, well, but then I'm going to have to wake up and go to the bathroom in the night. Well, you would be surprised. The more water you drink, your body, it's like remember like a plant, when you put water in a dry plant, it goes right through. But the more you water that plant, it kind of takes it in. Similar with our body. And so if you're drinking more water throughout the day, your body is going to utilize it better, and you shouldn't wake up in the night to go to the bathroom as much. However, my point is on this, staying hydrated, your body is going to be able to sleep really well. It'll stay calm. You won't wake up with cramps, and you won't have your legs feeling restless. And that's due to electrolytes. And so my two top electrolytes that I really encourage people to consume throughout the day, and then definitely towards the night, you can consume more magnesium. But you can buy powdered magnesium to put in water and drink before bed. It'll hydrate you, it'll repair your muscles, it'll make GABA for you, and you won't wake up feeling sore and stiff. Okay, so it's kind of been my trick. Potassium is another one, really good for restless leg, and just really good for energy. You need potassium and magnesium to make electricity in your body, and that's why they're called electrolytes. Okay, and then when we're deficient in them, you heard it can get so bad that people's hearts can stop Not that that's going to happen to you, but you'll hear situations, let's just say a sports player was like out running on the field, they got dehydrated, and all of a sudden they died from a cardiac arrest because they didn't have enough electrolytes, aka hydration, okay? And then continuing on with magnesium, you guys probably hear me talk about this all the time. Magnesium, 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 it will help you sleep. And my dosing is right there, and the form is there. Oh, by the way, I have a whole handout. If you find you're doing screenshots, yay for you. But it also will tell you about the link to get a handout for all my sleep strategies, all in just like a PDF format. And it's in my Instagram profile, okay? All right. I think you've all heard about no caffeine after 2 p.m. This is a pretty obvious one. Caffeine, what it does is it increases your epinephrine and norepinephrine. It just goes right into your cell, and it says make epinephrine, norepinephrine. Well, you don't want that towards the end of the day, and I think most of us have experienced that, where maybe we didn't realize we had more caffeine, and then I was like, all of a sudden, like, woo, I'm awake, and I have a lot to do, and oh, that's right, I had a caffeinated coffee or a really caffeinated tea at 3 o'clock today, and I think we've all experienced that. So you can usually just say, I want no caffeine if you just want that coffee flavor, because you just, it's like a comfort. And then some people, I've had this situation happen where they're taking all their multivitamins at night. And, I'm proud of them for getting them in. But sometimes then they're like, but I'm awake. I don't know why I'm awake. Why I can't fall asleep. So they're like, well, are you taking your B vitamins in the evening? And they'll be like, oh yeah. Well, B vitamins are naturally energy giving, okay, especially B12 and B6. So just take those in the morning or midday, just not before bed. Electrolyte drinks can do that also. So that's why I just kind of caution if you're going to take like potassium supplements, maybe do them earlier in the day, because yes, they can kind of give you a little extra zing of energy. And then insulin issues, we are going to talk about that as our next topic in 2 weeks. If you are having blood sugar doing this all day long, and then let's just say you had a big carb dinner, like some pasta, and that's pretty much all carbohydrates. And so your insulin levels are going to go up, and then they're going to crash. And then your body says, well, when I'm sleeping, I need sustained energy, so my blood sugar doesn't dip low, low, low. So some people, they will have it where their insulin levels are going back and forth, and because it dips so low, it will actually wake them up, okay? So keep that in mind. Pay attention to more protein sources before, like as your nighttime meal. And then hormone imbalances. This is another topic that I have to save for a very special day, because hormones themselves is a fascinating topic, but it's so much information in its own right. But I have to tell you, it can cause insomnia, and I think a lot of women know this. That usually it's a premenopausal thing or menopause, where you can get, it's called hot flashes, insomnia, and you're just not getting good sleep, and that's going to be due to your estrogen or your progesterone being out of balance. Okay, so that's really important. The last thing for internal suggestions, melatonin, and this is kind of a fun one. Most people do take this. Now, it's kind of I just have to tell you about melatonin and how it works, okay? Melatonin is, remember, when it's super dark, your body will tell the pineal gland, start making melatonin, puts you to sleep. You should naturally be doing that. So technically, if you are doing all these sleep strategies and you're getting good sleep and you're waking up with good energy and you're feeling good, you shouldn't technically need to take melatonin, okay? But if you are taking it and you know it really helps you, that is not a horrible thing. They are finding it's not wrecking you per se. It's even they've been doing a lot more research with melatonin on cancer. And those who have lower levels of melatonin when they wake up, because you can record that, are at higher risk for cancer. Because melatonin is a high antioxidant. Not only does it put you to sleep, it's a really powerful antioxidant, and it repairs your cells in the night, okay? So it makes sense that you would be at higher risk for cancer and diseases if you have low melatonin. So that makes sense. So there are some studies that they're putting out there on dosing of melatonin for just people who have cancer, and just kind of helping them to prevent cancer in the future. With that being said, I would say if you are wanting to try melatonin, you start slow, 1 milligram, and just see how you feel. And some people like, oh yeah, it knocks them out, and they're like, okay, I'm sleeping good, I'm having vivid dreams, I'm not waking up feeling super groggy. Because if you still have a lot of melatonin in your system, your body's just gonna be like, oh, I'm kind of feeling sluggish getting going. And that's what some people will report with melatonin supplementation. Okay, so in my brackets, you will want to know there are some things that inhibit melatonin from being produced. So NSAIDs, and those are like your ibuprofen, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, right? And I remember I had a situation back in February. I had a stupid tooth infection. I had a dental procedure gone bad, and I had never in my life ever had to take that much pain meds of ibuprofen and Tylenol every 2 to 4 hours, and it was high dose, and I've never had to experience that. Well, in addition to that, I wasn't getting any sleep because it was blocking my melatonin. And so it was the weirdest week of my life where I'm taking these high doses and my body's just like, what is going on? I'm in pain, I'm not sleeping. It was crazy. And lo and behold, I eventually got it fixed. I had to go get a natural root canal done. I have stories about it, and you can find it in my posts. And it's a side note, you can get a healthier root canal performed. But anyways, I ended up having an abscess in there, and it was a whole hot mess, okay? But point was, I wasn't getting sleep, pain, and then the NSAIDs. And then beta blockers, caffeine, of course, alcohol and tobacco, and then white light, blue light, and then genetic issues, their own situation. Okay, you guys are doing awesome. We're almost there. Okay, now I just have to talk a couple things. If you have someone who snores, okay, and that's kind of one of those things you're like, oh, what do I do? They snore and I'm trying to get good sleep. Pray for you. Okay, I'll pray for you. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Snoring is a situation where, right, things are really swollen. The room can be dry, so you might need to think about maybe getting a humidifier in your room. Weight issues can cause snoring, allergies, infections, you name it. But it all comes down to inflammation and swelling. So there is a supplement out there that if you wanted to try, it's grass-fed thymus. And what that does is it helps the immune system, the thymus, and it helps to bring down swelling almost instantly for people. And it's been helping their allergies, their sinus infections, snoring, polyps. And so I'm putting it out there for you guys. You can get it on Amazon. And I encourage you to read the reviews. It's 5 stars. And it's changing people's lives, okay? Other situations for snoring, maybe look at your nose throat doctor. There's sleep studies. Diet change is huge for snoring, huge. And it's typically because, right, if you have a poor diet, you're going to create inflammation and swelling in your body, okay? So that's just a side note. I don't want to keep talking because we got to wrap up here. And let's see here. I think I have one more slide. Trying to find it here. Okay. Oh, this is the one I wanted to show you. Okay, so the EMF radiation, there's all sorts of studies out there. There's all sorts of YouTube videos, and you can watch people take these EMF recorders and put them up to anything electrical and just see how much radiation is being emitted. Yes, there's like all sorts of things you can buy, like stickers, and there's you know, like blocking, like these metal things you can buy to block panels. The resources out there are endless, okay? And some work, and some of them are just like, no, they're just trying to get your money. But the good news is it's out there. Bad news, you have to research it. But if you look at this picture, you can see how there is microwave cell phone effects, and you have absorption in the brain according to age. And unfortunately, you can see the younger, the more radiation goes deeper. And so I don't know if you guys already knew this, but if you're gonna talk on your cell phone, I know it could be annoying, but try to do it through speakerphone, or you can kind of get your, you know, your earbuds that are connected with the wire and then turn it on to speakerphone. The point is, I hardly ever try to put my phone up to my head for a long time, for long periods of time. Okay, so there's enough ways to avoid this, but I wanted to bring it to your attention because it is so eminent around us and it's not going away. So you might as well just try to figure out, how do I create success so I'm not getting this radiation and it's affecting my health? Okay. Okay, so then the last thing I wanted to let you know, we are done. We got through it. We did it in an hour. That's always my goal. If you liked what I had to say and you're just like, okay, I didn't want to have to write everything down, I made a quick little free handout for you guys on successful sleep strategies. And you can go through it and you can check off, yep, got that, yep, doing that, yep, right? Because there's a lot to do, and I'm not trying to overwhelm anyone. But like I said, most of these things are free, and most of the time you can start trying a few of them and then be like, oh, okay, I'm noticing a big difference. Also, side note, like for me, you know, when I wasn't getting sleep because of my dog, another thing to say, you know, just make sure other members in your family are getting good sleep too. So you might have to kind of share the love on just saying, okay, all right, let's do an Epsom salt bath. My boys do Epsom salt baths all the time. Okay, let's make sure you're taking your supplements accordingly. Okay, let's make sure we're not spiking your blood sugar. Okay, you know, right? Because when a happy family is getting good sleep, right, it's good for the whole family, and it's good for everyone. So I just encourage you guys to just go through with your family and check those off and just see if you guys can get better sleep. And that's in my link tree. And hopefully you guys know how to get to that. It's in the profile. And I have other information and other handouts. But I just want to say thank you for joining me. In 2 weeks, we're going to talk about sugar management. It's actually my favorite topic. And insulin control, because now we're getting into the next tiers, right? We're going like in order of importance, and blood sugar control is very important, okay? All right, well, good job, you guys. Love it, thank you. Okay, awesome. Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks.